Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to the fruit of Grisaia. And just like that, I got my protein ice cream in literally 10 seconds flat from the fridge. And I'm back. For you guys, this is gonna be in about 2 days. But yeah, let's continue where we left off. Nestled in the corner of a structure with the romantic name of C Building is the office of my beloved superior, Harudera Yuria, a section chief in the 2nd Division. Not exactly a spacious room, but since JB transferred in as foreign capital, it was a hard-won prize. This office is a symbol of her successful struggle for promotion from acting section chief to a formal command. A certain group of boorish individuals have been known to mock this room as a kennel. I don't know what that is, in reference to the work that goes on in here. But you need a pretty black sense of humor to laugh at that particular joke. Number 9029, reporting in. Even as I offered a standard greeting, my eyes briefly find the room's built-in security camera and confirm that it's currently active. At this characteristic bit of shrewdness on my part, maybe cowardice is the better word, JB gives a disdainful little snort and looks up at her clock. Please, excuse me. I'd appreciate that, thank you. Even though I'm talking to JB, this is the company's main office, and I'm addressing my superior. Can't exactly give her the usual routine. I've always found it a little awkward, honestly. Probably one of the reasons I harbor a mild dislike for this room. JB picks up the telephone on her desk, combs up a stray lock of shaggy blonde hair, then presses the receiver to her left ear.
Kiara, coffeeを2つお願い。そう、私の分はデカフェで。
Even got yourself a secretary now, eh? Cheeky girl.
何か言った?
No, nothing at all. Perhaps you're hearing things, ma'am.
もう、なんか気持ち悪いわね。あなたの敬語を聞いてると逆にバカにされてるみたいでムズムズする。もういいわよ。普通に喋りなさい。
That certainly works for me. With a few crisp words, a woman in a white uniform who's presumably JB's personal assistant enters the room. At a glance, she's maybe 24 years old, a good bit younger than JB. Her hair is an unusual silvery shade of gray, neatly trimmed. Her skin's dark, and her pink-painted lips are fairly thick. A good bit of African ancestry, but judging from the big, bluish eyes behind her glasses, she's probably mixed race. Couldn't guess her nationality just to look at her. Guess you could call that a fairly representative trait for those in this particular posting.
どうぞ。
The personal assistant places the coffee cup on a table in front of me, her face blank and uninviting.
あなたが9029?
Oh, is that what I'm supposed to say? 9029? Yeah, I've been working under that designation for the last few years.
よろしければ握手を。
The woman holds out her hand with a smile you'd almost think she learned from a textbook. But her eyes hold more than a bit of skepticism. The number 9029 has a special significance within this organization. Understandable enough to feel a little dubious about the legendary agent in question being a brat like me.
9029は何人もいるって言うけど本当？あなたは何人目？キアラ、ご苦労様。退出して結構よ。それと、よかったら後で一緒に写真を。キアラ、退出しなさい。はーい。じゃあ、また後でね。
The woman named Kiara winks a single eye shut behind her glasses and gives her lips a little smack as she leaves the office. I hadn't been particularly conscious of it before, but a certain characteristic of the woman catches my eye as she saunters out the door. My honest thoughts escape my mouth. Your secretary's got a pretty big ass.
何その感想？どういう皮肉？
Not particularly, just a straightforward expression of my observations.
あなた、それセクハラよ。
A superior using the words sexual harassment as a weapon to intimidate men is power harassment, my friend.
口の減らない子ね。
I guess that's true. You think? Back in the day, a certain blonde used to complain about me not even answering when spoken to. I guess people really can change. Ignoring JB's incensed glare with a composure born of long experience, I take the paper cup coffee cup by its cardboard sleeve and bring it to my mouth. Pretty good. Common joke that an officer's field orderly learns more about making coffee than anything else. But it seems there might be a bit of truth to it.
だいたいどうして学生服のまま来るのよ。服ならいくらでも買ってあげているでしょ。
Too much of a pain to get changed. That's all. Just a polite fiction, of course. I'm not quite that lazy. But honestly speaking, even if they bought me some Usace or Versucci or whatever, there's no way I'd be able to pull the look off. For one thing, JB, last time they forced me into a suit to get an updated photo for our internal records, I seem to remember you shouting, "Looks like someone's got a big date for the middle school prom. Ho 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 ho." You didn't call me here to criticize my fashion sense, right? Can we get to the point?
言われなくても分かってるわよ。
JB stalks over to the corner of her room, still sporting a sulky frown, to where a hefty little safe sits on the ground. And squatting down in a way that affords me fleeting glimpses of her thighs through the hem of her skirt, she begins to spin the dial installed on the front of it.
こっち見ないのよ。
Not to worry. If I feel the need for a little eye candy, I'll just take another look at that secretary's rear end before I head home.
そうじゃなくて、ダイヤルを覚えちゃダメよって言ってるの。
Not to worry. I'm not so starved for female company as to get turned on by a hunk of metal.
だからそうじゃなくて。もう。
Right, just a joke.
あなたの冗談を聞いていると生理が止まりそうだわ。
You'll save big on rubbers.
いいから。はい、これを見てもふざけていられる？
The envelope she thrusts violently before my eyes bears a red stamp reading, "Fax copying strictly prohibited." When I open it, I find an official order document identified by a serial number. The paper is specially coded. A standard fax or copy machine won't even pick up the characters. On top of which, after a certain period of time, the words will fade away to illegibility all on their own. In other words, I can tell without even glancing at the details that this is an extra-departmental order. Perfectly official, but completely off our books. The sort of thing that absolutely can't come to light. Again, huh? This isn't the first time I've gotten orders like these. I've had several of these envelopes handed to me, and without fail, their contents have always been assassination missions. High-ranking drug cartel bosses, corrupt politicians with dangerous political leanings. There's quite a difference in terms of social position and status, but individuals or groups determined by the collective will of the nation to pose a significant disadvantage to its interests are quietly, secretly removed from the stage. The nail that stands out gets pounded down, as they say. In an assassination of that sort, sniping is a fairly common method. Typically, several shooters are assigned the same task. As with a firing squad, it's an attempt at easing the conscience by making it impossible to know who fired the killing shot. But, even so, murder is murder. Hey JB, I can't kill people anymore. You know that, right?
もちろん知っているわ。それが原因で、あなたが予備役になったことも理解しています。
I've participated in several assassinations of this sort previously, but I'm fundamentally a coward. When it comes to taking human lives, I'll hesitate just as much as a normal person. No matter what kind of evil, worthless scum I'm looking at through my scope, my finger freezes up for a moment when I try to pull the trigger. That's a fatal defect for a sniper. Even so, when my master was alive, I managed to kill without thinking too much. When I told myself I was pulling the trigger in Isako's place, when I told myself that even a piece of garbage like me could be useful to Isako this way, I could fire without worrying about a thing. And when the job was over and I went home, Asako was there to embrace me and say well done. She was there to confirm that I'd done the right thing. But Asako's gone. The person who bore the curses of the dead in my place is gone now. And she can't be replaced. Unless the words come from someone who's stained their hands with blood, they can't offer me the slightest comfort. JB, I'm sorry, but you're not good enough. You know that perfectly well yourself, don't you? A sniper who can't pull the trigger is right up there with a radio that can't make a sound in the irritating useless junk department. That's a good part of the reason I ended up on the reserve in the first place. Why would you even bother showing me this now?
分かっていると言ったでしょ。落ち着いて暗殺対象者の名前を見てみなさい。
What? Target, Irisu Machina. Hey, what is this?
見ての通り、あなたと同じ学園に通うクラスメート、イリス・マキナが今回の標的よ。
You can't be serious. What the hell is going on?
理由は詮索しない。それもあなたの仕事の一部よ。
Why would Machina be... Who's the client?
私は知らないし、あなたも知る必要もないわ。所詮私も中間管理職。上からの命令を駒であるあなたたちに伝えるだけ。そしてあなたはその命令に従うだけ。違う？
She's not wrong. That's exactly how it is. JB brought me this job knowing full well that I can't kill. Knowing about my relationship with Machina. At this rate, the girl's definitely going to be erased one way or the other. Is JB telling me I should be the one to do it? That if Machina has to die, dispatching her personally would be the kindest way. Or maybe this whole summons is nothing but a facade, and JB's sole objective was to tip me off to the threat to Machina's life, in the form of an order. Whatever the case, I can't keep my shock from showing on my face. Why is this happening? Resisting the urge to grind my teeth, I lower my gaze to the document in my hand. The field where the issuer of the order would usually be named is blank, but nonetheless, there are 3 stamps of authorization below. A tripartite order? This sort of shady job usually comes with Akasaka's approval alone, but this time we've got the full set. In other words, this mission was undertaken on the mutual agreement of Akasaka, Ichigaya, and Kasumi Gasaki. Definitely not something you see every day.
そういうこと。つまりは多少派手なことをしてもみんなでかばってくれるから大丈夫ということね。
Why are you showing this thing to me?
分かっているでしょ。赤坂の認証がある以上は、私には最高かつ最適の人材を用意する必要があるのよ。私が知る限り、あなた以上の適任はいないわ。
You want me to kill a classmate with my own hands? You got some nerve, you shaggy-headed, dim-witted.
私をなじって気が済むのなら何度でも言いなさい。ただし。
You want a clear yes or no, right?
そういうこと。
Although it should probably go without saying, for a mission carried out with this level of secrecy, you're not typically going to get a briefing on the specifics before you accept the job. When the plan's going to be executed, where it'll be put into operation, who's participating, how many teams will be committed, you don't know a single thing in advance. Once you've listened to the plan in full, saying I think I'll pass after all isn't going to fly. In the first place, an agent only needs to understand their specific job. The broader circumstances aren't any of our concern. When you're a piece on the board, only 2 things are requested of you. The willingness to do what you're told, and the ability to make it happen. Your personal circumstances aren't worth shit. There's no compromise option. It's yes or no, one or the other.
嫌な目つきね。
Staring into my face, JB mumbles the words quietly. At the moment, I've probably got the look of someone who's spotted a loathsome insect, scuttling along the floor and crushed it emotionlessly. An unattractive mixture of disgust and cold-blooded cruelty. It's an expression you get used to seeing after spending enough time in his company. The expression of someone enduring injustice, resigned to ugly reality. The expression of an agent.
あなたに用意された選択肢は2つ。イリス・マキナの暗殺を引き受けるか、何も見なかったことにして今すぐこの場を立ち去るか。
Do I have to make that choice right now?
任務の性質上、今日は帰ってゆっくり考えなさいとは言えないのよ。ましてやあなたは対象者と同じ施設に寝泊まりしている。もしあなたが現時点で任務への参加を拒否した場合、あなたの身柄は このまま拘束されます。
Well, yeah, I'd imagine so. In other words, the moment I saw that document, the number of options available to me was essentially reduced to one. The answer is yes.
賢明ね。
A tinge of relief in her voice, JB softly exhales the air in her lungs, then peers into my eyes as though searching for some reassurance of my loyalty.
正常期に誓える？
Yeah, I'll swear it on the flag.
そう。だったら今日はもう帰っていいわ。詳細が決まり次第連絡します。
Understood. I promptly stand from the sofa and click my heels sharply together. Number 9029, resuming normal post on semi-alert status. JB averts her eyes from my steady gaze slightly, briefly glancing at the surveillance camera installed in the corner of her office. Most likely, they had staff standing by watching the monitor in real time as a precaution against me refusing the order. Pretending not to notice, I raise my head from the salute, then promptly leave the room. Well then, what to do? I'd been prepared for something ugly, but not to suddenly find myself placed on the side of those hunting machina. That said, it's not like the current situation was completely outside the realm of my speculation. Considering the power and influence of the Irisu family, I'd vaguely hypothesized a scenario like this might be a possibility. Most likely, Akasaka is playing a large role in this one. Uncle Sam, the father of post-war Japan, kindly allowed us to develop wealth and influence under the banner of freedom and democracy. And the people running the show in Nagata-cho still haven't managed to move out of Dad's basement. I glance at the watch on my left wrist. 14:23. Seems that meeting in JB's office actually took less than 30 minutes. Coming to a halt a little ways before the bridge I cross on my way here, I glance over at an outpost of a certain hamburger peddling multinational corporation. This sort of food isn't bad every once in a while. Muttering this blatantly artificial comment to no one in particular, I enter the fast food restaurant. Then make straight for the register, ordering the company's namesake burger, a side of french fries, and an iced coffee. After paying in advance, I take my drink and ticket and settle in at a seat by the window. The street outside is not especially busy at the moment, only a few passerby. Among them, I notice a businessman of some sort standing in front of the bridge with his shirt sleeves rolled up and a jacket tucked under one arm. He's pressing a cell phone to his ear, obsequiously bowing his head over and over. Talking to his boss or a client. Either way, he won't be hanging around there for too long. Eventually, a member of the restaurant's floor staff comes over with my food in a plastic tray, exchanging it for the ticket in my hand. After a few vigorous bites into my burger, I glance out the window again, only to find that the businessman, who'd been desperately apologizing into his phone, has already taken his leave. Been a while since I had a meal like this. Very tasty, but not exactly something I'd want to eat every day. Not bad, more or less sums it up. Once I've washed down the overly juicy hamburger with my iced coffee, I quickly shovel the thick french fries into my mouth, then put my tray away and promptly leave the restaurant. I glance at my watch again. 14:31. 7 minutes in there. After making my way briskly back to the station, I take the stairs 2 at a time and slip my way into the premises. Once I descend to the appropriate platform, I walk all the way to the far end, boarding the very first car of the subway train that arrives with perfect timing. Since it's early afternoon, the subway isn't exactly crowded. I only count 6 passengers in the lead car, including myself. Ignoring the numerous empty seats, I turn around, open the door in the back of the carriage, and make my way into the next car. And there I find... Thought so. The man who'd been kowtowing into his phone by the burger place seems to have caught this train as well. He's wearing the jacket formerly under his arm, and his formerly swept back hair is now parted horizontally. But it's definitely him. The man catches his breath for a moment when I meet his eyes, but after I offer him a quick smile and nod, he jerks up one of his mouth and furrows his brow in an expression of riot resignation. Well, guess it's only what you'd expect. The company might have allowed me to go home, but they're not quite soft enough to let me wander off alone. Under the circumstances, it's only natural that they'd have someone keeping an eye on me. Would you mind if I take that seat? There are empty seats all over the train, but I settle myself down right next to the man. This way, he won't have to bother pretending to read a newspaper while shooting me little glances out of the corner of his eye. A little gesture of professional courtesy on my part. Leaning back next to my new friend, I sink calmly into thought while pretending to study an advertising monitor above the exit. Since my immediate orders were to stand by, it's probably safe to assume there's going to be a few days of preparation before Makina's assassination is carried out. I want to believe they're going to approach this very carefully. One day on standby. One day for us to learn and absorb the details of the operation. One day for ordering and provisioning the necessary equipment and machinery. One day for general review and familiarizing ourselves with the equipment. Even estimating fairly generously, I've given 4 days at the longest. If I had turned down the job, the company could simply have locked me down and given it to another agent. I bought myself a little time here, and now I need to use it to find a way out of this mess. That said, given the current situation, I'm not going to find any answers no matter how thoroughly I think this over. I'm suffering from an obvious and crippling lack of information. I can't even see my enemies. There's no harder way to fight a battle. The man who'd been sitting at my side, apparently finding the experience extremely awkward, removed himself from the train at the very first station stop. There wasn't any sign of someone taking his place afterward. On the whole, my return to Mishima Cape went off surprisingly smoothly, but guess it's not quite that easy. There's an unfamiliar motorcycle parked along the street near the entrance to the shopping district. Although the bike itself looks like it's fresh off the lot, the license plate on the back is noticeably battered and worn. Probably a special plate that's seen service in a number of vehicles over the years. Earning those paychecks, I say. Judging from the resources they've committed to surveillance, the client must be pretty on edge. Speaking of that client of ours, there are several points I'm having a difficult time getting my head around there. First and foremost, why have they suddenly decided Makina needs to die at this point? Considering we're talking about someone connected enough to request a job from our company, it's hard to believe they couldn't have arranged something like this a long time ago. Until now, Makina's enemies have been content to keep her stuffed away in a corner like a worthless employee, too troublesome to fire. Even when she pokes her head out of the cage, they've limited themselves to warnings, however blunt. So what's prompted this casual change in policy to an outright assassination? I can't understand why this client's allowed Makina to live until now. Why they've only now decided to kill her. Something must have changed. There must be some reason they can't afford to worry about appearances anymore. If I could only identify that reason, I have a feeling I might be able to devise some counter strategies as well, but in the first place, who exactly is our enemy here? I think this is one question Makina herself wouldn't be able to answer, even if I were to explain the situation to her. Since they got Akasaka off its ass, we're talking about a group or individual with significant power in the global scale. Obviously, they're involved with the Arisu somehow, but the nation itself won't move its heavy buttocks for private interests. 3 stamps suggest the involvement of someone in the Pentagon, or maybe a shove from the NSA. Whatever the exact details, this is without a doubt turning into a proxy war against an extremely problematic opponent.
風見さん、お帰りなさいませ。お早いお戻りで何よりです。
Hey Sachi, what's Makina up to?
はい、先ほどおやつにホットケーキを3枚ほど召し上がられまして、今はご睡をしていらっしゃいます。
Taking a siesta, huh?
はい、起こしますか？
No, that's alright. Might as well let her sleep.
かしこまりました。
Anything happened while I was gone?
あ、そういえば、先ほど風見さん宛ての封筒が届きました。
A delivery for me?
はい、こちらになります。
I instantly recognized the pea green envelope Sachi casually produces. It's standard Asahi clean stationery. Who brought this over exactly? My name is written on the envelope, but there's no address or post office stamp. We generally don't make a policy of entrusting internal documents to middlemen, like the postal service. Someone from the company must have brought it directly.
申し訳ありません。相手の方のお名前は確認しておりませんが、おそらくはバイク便業者の方かと。
Ah, I see. Motorbike messengers are right up there with taxi drivers as a popular side job at Ichigaya. The delivery man was almost certainly a coworker of mine. Actually, come to think of it, I'm impressed you even got him to hand it over. Normally speaking, any internal document, let alone something you'd go out of your way to transport via sneakernet, would be designated direct delivery only. But here we are.
はい。最初は本人にしか渡せないとの一点張りだったのですが、では渡していただけるまで
Sorry about that.
私もここを動きませんと申し上げたところ、15分後に私に託してくださいました。
I was twitching my fingers as usual. Just a guess here, but I'm thinking that delivery man had been planning to wait for my return out by the main gate or something. Probably wasn't expecting to deal with an expressionless woman in full maid uniform standing rigidly at his side like a diminutive Buckingham Palace guard. The man might well have tried to be considerate. Probably told Sachi it's fine, I'll take care of it. Or asked why don't you at least sit down. This of course would have earned nothing but a curt no thank you as the perfectly stationary girl continued to bore into him with her steady unblinking gaze. That's pretty much just the way our Komine Sachi's personality works, but... well, I can understand how it might seem more than a little creepy to an outsider. Probably broke under the sheer psychological pressure. Although, only lasting 15 minutes is pretty damn pitiful no any way you look at it.
何やら急に頭を両の手でかきむしり始めまして、ああもうわかったわかった、渡せばいいんだろうともすればやけくそになったかのようなご様子でしたが、私は何か悪いことをしたのでしょうか。
No, you're fine, Sachi. More importantly, was the man who delivered this envelope maybe riding a new-looking black motorcycle?
はい、確かに黒いオートバイでした。お知り合いの方ですか？
Nah, that's not it. Just noticed this unfamiliar motorcycle stop at the entrance to the shopping district. So I was wondering if it might have been him. I see. So he switched right over to surveillance after dropping off the documents to me. If the guy can get worn out by Sachi here, he's probably a pretty damn green new part-timer. But an observer with that kind of mobility is still somewhat troublesome. In any case, the envelope got to me in the end. Thanks, Sachi.
はい、お役に立てて幸いです。
A delivery from the company right now almost certainly has something to do with the assassination we just discussed. But the envelope's strangely thick. From what Sachi told me, the messenger stopped by about an hour and a half ago. At the time, I was still in JB's office. In other words, the woman could have handed these to me herself if she wanted to. So why go out of your way to use an employee to deliver them? I guess the simplest explanation would be they didn't want to hand over too much intelligence on the spot, in case I decided to refuse my orders. Well, no point speculating until I've at least taken a look at the contents. This is... The thick sheaf of A4 paper that emerges from the envelope is covered in dense arrays of tiny characters, as if deliberately designed to crush the reader's willpower before they've even begun. There's only one person I know who goes around making reports this maliciously dense. JB, huh? The bundle of paper is as thick as one of those weekly manga tomes. As I begin a preliminary flip through, skimming past lengthy sentences embodying JB's over-serious German personality, several bolded phrases quickly catch my eye. The prosperity of the Irisu clan, light and shadow. Irisu Machina, birth to the present day. Extra Departmental Order 11847, detailed plan. Well, shit. Okay, no wonder she couldn't hand it over directly. This looks like a grab bag of highly restricted material. Even the people directly involved in organizing the job probably don't have access to such a comprehensive rundown of the facts. Some of the documents in this thing are clearly marked removal and copy strictly prohibited. As a whole, this is dangerously outside the range of what JB's permitted to spread around on her personal initiative. What the hell is that woman thinking? However, It's clear that the majority of the information I need is hiding in this bundle of paper. To be honest, it's about the best gift I could have hoped for right now. Why show me all this? Just what do you expect me to do, JB? Putting that aside, it seems like it'll take 2 or 3 days to just read it all. Well, whatever. I'm a chronic insomniac anyway, so it shouldn't be hard to find the time. If nothing else, a decent sleep aid's always appreciated. I take out some oolong tea from the fridge and drink deeply and loudly straight from the bottle. For the first time since leaving JB's office, I feel halfway human again. With a deep sigh, I drop myself down onto the floor, then focus my attention on the first document of many. It's about, what, 3 hours of reading? And here I am still eating my protein ice cream. I guess JB was trying to paint as detailed a picture as possible. There's a fair amount of information that looks irrelevant at first glance, to the point where documents seem almost overly long. But as I continue reading, I often find myself realizing that she's carefully foreshadowed critical events, providing background naturally bit by bit instead of dumping it on the reader all at once. It's actually a pretty ingenious structure, and surprisingly readable considering the dense material. Before I know it, I've spent several hours with my eyes glued to the pages, poring over documents one after another. When the knock comes at my door, I'm surprised to find it's already past 7 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be right there. Quickly gathering up the stack of paper I've been leafing through, I stash it away deep inside my rucksack. I actually prefer sweet and sour fish, but that's also pretty good. That also sounds pretty good. Hey, pineapple's actually really good in there. That's not it. It's just, well, nothing big. It's not as though there's really any need to hide the truth, but seeing the main character of the non-fiction novel I've just been reading appear before my eyes inspires a strong wave of guilt. Trying to disguise those feelings, I drop a hand on Makina's head with a firm thump. Your head's a little damp, kid. Just out of the bath or something? Hmm? Oh, right. Today's Professor Dave Day. Sure, but let's eat first. My head feels unpleasantly heavy, probably because I've been reading JB's documents all this time. Not to say I'm physically tired or unwell, it's pure psychological weight. Learning the details of this girl's past was a harsher burden than I expected. Looks pretty tasty. Well, hardly a big deal, right? Guess you're right. Amane didn't really need to point that out. I'm perfectly aware that I'm being more than a little soft on Makina right now. Sachi wasn't wrong the other day. This girl really does have a past that can change the way you see her. Once you know the facts, it's impossible not to look at her with sympathy in your eyes. And knowing that your pity will only make the girl feel even more miserable, you end up trying not to look at all. Makina probably kept the details of her past to herself precisely because she didn't want to deal with that sort of awkwardness in her relationships here. Just looking into the face of a friend who's learned the truth would be painful. However, it's now absolutely necessary that I understand Makina's past down to the smallest details. And in turn, she needs to know what I've learned. That's just basic courtesy. That said, how exactly am I supposed to bring something like that up? I kind of butchered that question. But soon enough, the girl's straightforward personality solves that problem for me.
ねえパパ、今日はずっと何か読んでるけど、何を読んでるの？
Documents about your past.
私の？
Yeah, that's right.
ま、いっか、パパなら。っていうか、聞かれれば教えてあげたのよさ。
Alright, I'll check with you if there's something I don't understand in there.
あのね、一つ聞いてもいい？
What is it?
最近パパが妙に優しいのは、それが原因？
No, I think that's just a result of me sleeping with you. Men always treat women weirdly nice after they've made love for the first time. Maybe? I mean, I don't know.
そっか、じゃあいいや。
I have absolutely no idea if that's true or not. Never experienced it before. Seriously?
じゃあさ、もう一回抱かれたら、もっと優しくなる？
I think not. If I spoil you any more than this, you'll go completely rotten in no time.
なんだい、つまんないの。
Cheh, yourself, kid. Anyway, wasn't there something you wanted to watch on television?
おう、せやった。デイブ見なきゃ。んじゃあパパ、膝枕をしておくれ。
What? You want to watch lying down?
そんぐらいは甘えさせてくれんでしょ。ね。
Proper posture is important when you're watching television. And you're just going to fall asleep if you lie down, aren't you?
まあまあ、いいからいいから、ほら。
Ugh. In camping on a sofa next to me with the confident pushiness of a girl disinclined to take no for an answer, Makina drops her head casually onto my lap, then flips on the TV with the remote in her hand. I do feel like I might be getting a little too soft on the girl at this point, but I can't really bring myself to object too strongly. Probably more evidence of the effect reading those documents had on me.
デイブ教授のアメイジングアニマル。いやー、キッズたち、元気だったかい？今週もアメイジングアニマルが始まるよ。今日の特集は先週予告したようにヘビの特集だ。
Dave, clad in his usual rough attire, makes his way down a richly verdant rural road with a giant smile on his face.
みんなは100歩だというヘビを知っているかな？そいつに噛まれると100歩歩くうちに死ぬと言われているとても恐ろしいヘビだ。そして今日僕が来ているここベトナムには現地で2ステップスネークと呼ばれるその名の通り2歩歩くうちに死に至ると言われる猛毒を持ったヘビがいるんだ。今日はそのヘビを紹介しよう。
The screen abruptly changes to an insert video that seems to have been shot separately. Stock footage, maybe. As a clip of the two-step snake spitting venom toward the camera lens plays, a voiceover explains that the animal's poison encourages uncontrollable bleeding, playing up its fearsome lethality.
どうだい？恐ろしいヘビだろう。毒自体の強さはそれほど強くはないが、一度に吐き出す毒の量が多いのが2ステップスネークの恐ろしさだね。さて、今日僕がやってきたのはヘビの養殖場だ。ここでは80種類のヘビが2000匹も養殖されているんだ。
As Dave points ahead with a triumphant grin, the camera turns to find local staff from the snake farm casually releasing a sizable serpent, then giving it a few pokes into with a frayed bamboo stick. The animal seems none too pleased.
これが2ステップスネークだ。どうだい？恐ろしいだろう。もう
Oh,
よし。
sorry. I thought he was
早速
done.
噛まれてみよう。
Why does this guy always seem to enjoy the getting bitten part so much? More importantly, didn't he just say the venom can kill you in seconds flat? I'm not following the logical progression here.
Ouch!
Grabbing the shin of his right leg where the animal bit him, Dave rolls around on the ground in exaggerated fashion.
これは痛い痛すぎるやばいこいつはリアルな方だ
As opposed to what? An imposter? Of course it's going to hurt if you let the thing bite you. What's with this show anyway? Sometimes I feel like it's less of an animal documentary and more of an entertainment show for bloodthirsty children to cackle at Dave's reactions. The local staff members quickly administer anti-venom, but Dave's leg grows bright violet nonetheless. With minutes, it's swollen up to several times its normal thickness. This certainly does look pretty damn bad. I mean, seriously, shouldn't somebody stop Dave for his own good? I can't help voicing my thoughts out loud, but Machina doesn't react. Machina? The girl's eyes are shut. Her soft, regular breathing suggests she's fallen asleep in my lap. No wonder she's been strangely quiet lately. I told you so, kid. I briefly consider shaking her shoulder to wake her up. But even if I succeeded, it would probably be a short-lived victory. Fortunately, the DVR under our television seems to be saving the program. DVR? I don't think I ever had that. Maybe that's like too old for me to know what that is. Guess the girl had Sachi set it up to automatically start recording this time every week. Machina's mouth flops loosely open and closed, emitting meaningless babble that doesn't even rise to the level of sleep talking. Honestly, it's pretty cute in a way. Guess it couldn't hurt to let her sleep a little longer. It'll probably get annoying if Michiru happens to wander by, but if I was worried about my dignity or whatever, it'd be easy enough to just lower the girl's head off my lap. Maybe even carry her up to her room. It's probably the least problematic choice here. Still, I choose not to do so. Mostly because the weight and warmth of Machina's body feels surprisingly pleasant. I don't really understand why I've come to feel this way about her. But then again, my master didn't understand the reason she took me in until the day she died. Come to think of it, I'm not sure exactly when, but there was a time I asked Amane why she was going out of her way to look after an aggravating little pest like Machina.
なんでって言われてもな。
There had to be some reason you started, right?
きっかけね。まあ、あるっちゃあるけど、どうなんだろう。前にさ、マキナは一人でお風呂に入ると寝ちゃうって話はしたよね。
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
あの子がこの学園に来て間もない頃にさ、やっぱりお風呂で寝ちゃって溺れかけたことがあってね。それ以降は私と一緒にお風呂に入るようになったんだけど、マキナと一緒にお風呂に入った時、ちょっと驚いたことがあってさ。
Like what?
あの子さ、手ぬぐいの絞り方が変だったのよね。こうさ、タオルをボールみたいに丸めて両手でギューって握って絞るの。普通さ、手ぬぐいって四つ折りにしてねじって絞るでしょ。あの子さ、それを知らなかったの。私さ、それ見た時に、この子今までどんな環境で生きてきたんだろうとか、誰も教えてくれる人がいなかったのかなとか思ったら、なんかそういうのを教えるのが私の仕事なのかなって勝手に思ってさ。それ以降かな、私がマキナの面倒を見るようになったのって。きっかけがあるとしたら、
That's yours
多
then.
分それだと思う。
That small a thing?
いや、別にそれが全てってわけじゃなくて、そういった小さなことの積み重ねでいつの間にかって感じでね。でもね、別に成り行きで仕方がなくってわけじゃないのよ。そりゃね、最初はめんどくさい子だなって思うこともあったけど、ずっとあの子のそばにいて、普通のなんでもない小さなことを毎日積み重ねて、ある日ふっと気がつくの。私この子のことが大好きなんだなって。 まあ私とマキナは女の子同士だし、恋愛とはまた別の感情なんだろうけど、ある日本当にふっと気がつくんだよね、この子が好きだって。
I mean, nowadays, girl on girl action and boy on boy action is a-okay, Amane. You never know.
一度気がついてそれを認めちゃえばあとは楽だよ。なんでこんなことしてるんだろうって悩まなくなるから。
I see.
自覚のないまま人を好きになるって珍しいことじゃないよ。もう認めちゃいなよ。私のこと好きなんでしょ？
Okay, now you've lost me. And spare me the tee-hee-hee, woman. You can fall in love with someone without even realizing it. Until you notice a simple truth, it's impossible to come to terms with your own emotions. The question, is this really how it should be, rolls around in your head over and over. But by now, I found my answer. Looking down at the girl quietly sleeping on my lap, I find myself once again recalling the documents I spent the afternoon reading. The house Makina was born into, the Irisu clan, is built on a long and unbroken tradition of corruption and avarice, a fat parasitic cancer in the body politic, with roots reaching down to the bone. Just among the papers I looked over today, there were credible references to embezzlement, fraudulent budget inflation, and insider trading related to government projects, and that's clearly just scratching the surface. Among the leaders of this clan, Irisu Masataka was the one and only individual of genuine integrity. The man married into the family, so he'd been kept outside the loop at first. But after Makina's birth, he brushed against the darkness at the core of the Irisu, and realized he'd been integrated into a profoundly evil machine. Uncomfortable with the clan's immoral dealings, Mr. Masataka tried incredibly hard to move the Irisu onto a straighter path, motivated in no small part by concern for his newborn daughter. But in the end, his actions were nothing more than a nibbling of an ant at the foot of an elephant, producing no results other than his complete isolation within the family. And when Mr. Masataka laid hands on proof of the Irisu's secrets and crimes, the family severed him from itself like a lizard shedding its tail. It was an elaborately planned assassination, using his love for Makina against him. You might say the girl was his Achilles' heel. Makina was abducted in a sham kidnapping planned by her own relatives, used as bait to lure out her father. Mr. Masataka swallowed their deception hook, line, and sinker. He went to negotiate with the kidnappers, bearing a 120 million yen ransom, and was murdered before his daughter's eyes. He was an honest and timid man by nature. Just as the criminals had demanded, he went to the meeting without telling anyone of the situation. And he died for that mistake. Up until that point, everything went off exactly according to the Irisu leadership's plan. Their one and only slip-up was leaving the execution of the kidnapping to men from the Branch family. The Branch family had been entrusted with cleaning up the main house's messes ever since their incorporation into the Irisu. The leadership pushed this job onto them without a second thought, a decision that complicated matters. Estimating that their faction could gain dramatically if the main family successor candidate was to disappear along with her father, the kidnappers took a gamble and left Makina in the warehouse when they escaped. The girl spent a week tied to a pillar next to her father's corpse before she was finally discovered. Unfortunately, these events took place in the summer. The body began to change rapidly, and soon started to emit a foul stench. The psychological stress of watching her father rot, combined with the physical stress of hunger and dehydration, left Makina in a truly troubled state by the time she was rescued. Afterwards, she spent 6 long years shut up in the hospital under the Branch family's control, tormented by severe PTSD symptoms and other complications. You went through a hell of a lot, kid. As I muttered the words, my eyes returned to the girl sleeping on my lap. There are tears running down her face. Makina. What kind of a dream is she seeing right now? No matter how harsh the reality, surely it's not too much to hope the girl might find some happiness when she falls asleep.
それは夢。何度も何度も見続けた辛く悲しいだけの夢。
いや、よく来てくれたね、イリス正隆さん。電話で伝えた通り、誰にも知られずに来たかな？
当たり前だ。警察はもとより妻にすら何も伝えてはいない。そんなことより娘を、マキナを返してくれ。金ならちゃんと用意してきた。
まあまあ、そう慌てなさんなって。あんたの娘はそこにいる。ちっとばかしほっぺたと膝をすりむいているかもしれないが、それ以外は無事だ。腹が減ったらいけないと思ってさっきピザを注文したところだ。あんたも一緒に食ってくといい。
マキナ！
おっとっとっと、まだだよ正隆さん。まずは現金を確認させてもらわなきゃ。こっちも仕事なんでね。ああ、ピザの代金は俺が出すから気にしないでいい。それよりちゃんと持ってきたのかな？使い古しの少額紙幣で200万ドル。
そこにスーツケースが2つある。それが僕の自由に動かせる金額の全てだ。好きにすればいい。
そう。じゃあ確認させてもらおうかな。おい、確認しろ。
よし。マキナ、無事か？怪我は？
まだだって言ってんだろ。せっかちだね、あんたも。金が数え終わるまで待ちなよ。何か飲む？と言ってもビールかダイエットコーラしかないが。
ボス！
だ、もうでかい声出すな。びっくりしてビールこぼしちまったじゃねえか。
ボス、どう見ても金が足りね
え。はあ？なんで？いくらあるって？
あっと数えてみたところじゃ12万ドル。あとはわけのわからねえ紙切れが。
紙切れ？ちっ。ああ、どういうことなのかな、正隆さん。今すぐに納得のいく説明が聞かせてもらいたいな。
君たちから電話があったのは昨日だぞ。そう簡単に都合よく金が用意できるはずもないのは電話で何度も説明したはずだ。
まあね。そりゃ無理を言ってるのは分かってるよ。分かっちゃいるが、そこをなんとかとお願いしたはずだよね。そんであんたはできるだけなんとかするって言ってくれたじゃない。それが何？12万ドル？あんたの娘はたったの12万ドルか？これじゃ返してやれるのは娘の腕一本分だよ。
だから150万ドル分の債券を用意した。
おいおいおいおい、勘弁してくれよ。俺は現金が欲しいと言ったじゃないか、正隆さん。それが債券？債券？冗談じゃない。そんなもんどうやって換金しろって言うんだ。そんなもん下手に転がしてみろ。投資顧問が黙っちゃいないだろ。
心配ない。もちろん無記名の債券だ。小切手なんかよりずっと安全だ。
そういう問題じゃないんだよ。あんた全然分かっちゃいないな。こんなもんもらったところで俺たちはまずその債券が本物か、そして有効なのかを調べなきゃいけない。そんな手間はごめん被りたいんだよ。わかるか？言いたかないが俺たちは田舎者だな。あんたはテキサスの田舎道にあるドライブインでカードを使えるかと財布から金色のカードを出した間抜けと同じことをしているんだなあ。そうだろ？
しかし僕にはこれが精一杯で。
そんな言い訳なんざ聞きたかねえのよ。冗談じゃない。この子さらうのにいくら金かかったと思ってんだよなあ。ああ、くそ、イライラすんなもう。
ボス、あれ見てください。
あ？テレビがなんだ？
今画面に映ってんのイリスの人間じゃないですか？
あああ、はあ。てめえんとこの娘と亭主がえらい目に遭おうって時にのんきにクラシックのコンサートか？セレブだね。正隆さんよ、あんたは本当に嫁にも何も言わずに来たんだな。俺はあんたのそういうバカ正直なところすげえ気に入ってるよ。そんなあんたならめんどくせえこともなくすんなりと仕事ができると踏んでたんだ。ところがどうだ、あんたが用意できたのはたった12万ドルと紙切れだけ。話にならないよ。そうだろ？ な。
そんなバカな。
そりゃ俺のセリフだって。あんた俺の話聞いてんのか？ちょっと待て。この画面に映ってんのあんたんとこの家族だよね。おじいちゃんにおばあちゃん、それにあんたの嫁。まあそこまではいいとしてよ。その嫁の隣にいる男と二人に手をつながれている女の子は誰よ？
バカな。こんなのは。
そっか、そういうことか。あんた捨てられたんだな。こいつらは替え玉だろ。そっか、あんたこの子と一緒に捨てられたな。かわいそうによ。
嘘だ。
見捨てられた理由はあんたにもおおよその察しはついてんだろ。あんたはイリス一族の汚職に対して拭いがたい罪悪感があって家族と対立することも多かった。一族にしてみりゃ無駄に正義感の強すぎるあんたは一族の生みのような存在だったっつうこったな。
やめろ。子供の前でそんな話を。
まあいいじゃねえのよ。こうなった以上はあんたが持っている汚職の証拠ってやつを俺に譲ってくれよ。そしたらさ、足りない身代金の代わりにイリス家から金をもらえるだろ。
最初からそれが目的だったのか。
まあその予定がなかったって言えば嘘になるが、あんたがちゃんと金を用意すればこうはならなかったんだぜ。どうする？汚職の証拠とやらを俺に渡してみちゃどうだ？何を悩むことがあんだよ。あんたと娘を見捨ててみんなで仲良くコンサートに行くような薄情な家族に今さら義理立てする理由もなかろう。あんた犬っころみてえに捨てられたんだぞ。悔しかねえのかよ。
もちろん悔しいさ。だが悔しいからといって悪に対して悪をもって制裁するのは悪の連鎖を読んでますます大きな悪を生むだけだ。そんなことに何の意味がある？
ご立派だね。あんたそんな善人でよくイリス家にいられたもんだよ。
何とでも言ってくれ。とにかく金は用意できるだけ用意した。娘は返してもらう。
だよね、だよね。あんたならまあそういうだろうってのは分かってたよ。まあつまり金が用意できなかった時点であんたの運命はほぼ決まってたってわけなんだけどさ。バッカだな。もうね、あんたほんとバカ。救いようのないバカだよ。このお嬢ちゃん、イリス・マキナには同年代の妹がいる。つうことはあれだ、替え玉には事欠かないってわけで、わざわざ高い身代金を払う必要もないし、むしろそうなってくれた方が都合のいい人間だっているかもしれない。正隆さんよ、俺だって好きでこんなことしてるんじゃないんだぜ。むしろ非常に残念な結果になったと思っているし、こうして引き金を引いている今も全くもって胸くその悪い思いだよ。実に嫌な仕事だ。だが嫌な仕事だからって部下に押し付けるわけにもいかないじゃないか。だから俺はこうして自らの手で後始末をしているわけだ。しかしあんた実に残念な父親だ。いいかい、俺はこう見えても一応は公平な立場だったんだ。もしあんたが200万ドルきっちりと耳を揃えて用意できていたのなら、俺たちはその金を受け取ってお疲れ様でしたとこの場から笑顔で帰って、ちょっと艶のある女将のいる小料理屋にでも入ってささやかな祝杯をあげていたんだよ。それがどうだい。あんたが可愛い娘のためにかき集めてきた金はたったの12万ドル。こいつはいただけない。おまけに俺が汚職の証拠で手を打とうと譲歩してみせりゃ、それまで断っちまうんだから全くお話にならないよ、正隆さん。あんたそれでも父親かい？父親だったら娘のためにどんな悪いことをしてでも金をかき集めてこなきゃ嘘だろ。実に残念だ。 ほら情けなくて涙出てくるよ。ああくそ、弾がなくなっちまった。おい、弾よこせ。
ボス、もうその辺で。
あ、なんだ。銃のせいで耳が聞こえねえんだ。もっとでけえ声で話せバカ。
ボス、もうその辺で。そろそろずらかった方が。
だってうるせえな。
マキな。
おいおいおいおい、待て待て待て待て。正隆さん、まだ生きてんじゃねえかよ。なんでだよ、不死身かこいつ。
ボスが下手くそだからじゃ。
ああ、聞こえねえっつの。言いたいことがあるなら言えよ。
なんでもねえっすよ。
ああ、そうかよ。もういいえ。ほっときゃ勝手に落ちるだろ。そんじゃ消えるか。ああ、くそ、頭痛い。
ボス、ガキの方はどうしますか？
あ、そうな、生かしておく理由もなくなったしな。もう弾がねえっつの。締め殺すか。
でもボス、もう時間が。
あ、時間？なんのよ。
飛行機の時間です。
そっか。じゃあもういいか。めんどくせえし。行くぞ。ガキは放っておけ。どうせ顔は見られちゃいない。
そう、これは夢。早く目が覚めてほしいって。ただそれだけを何度も願い続けるだけの、苦しくて。パパ、大丈夫？血がいっぱい出てるよ。
マキナ、君はどこか怪我をしていないか？痛いところは？
私は平気。それよりパパは痛い？
僕も平気だよ。全然痛くないんだ。
嘘だよ。だってパパ、血がいっぱい出てるよ。
本当だよ。全然痛くないんだ。いっぱい血が出てるのに。不思議だね。少しも痛くないんだ。
ごめんね、パパ。私をかばったから怪我をしちゃったんだよね。
気にすることはないよ。これは当然のことだからね。君は何も悪くない。
でも
ごめんよ、マキナ。
パパ、どうして謝るの？
僕の娘に生まれてこなければ、君はこんな目に遭わずに済んだのにね。本当にごめんよ。
謝らないで、パパ。変だよ。どうしてそんなことで謝るの？
縄を解いて君を自由にしてあげたいけど、指がうまく動かないんだ。
パパ？
ごめんよ。
パパ、どうしたの？
マキナ、何かお話をしてくれないかな。もっと君の声が聞きたいんだ。
お話って？
何でもいいんだ。何か楽しい話が聞きたいな。
急に言われても困るよ。
そうだね。楽しい話題というものは男が用意するものだったね。
パパ、笑ってるの？
そうだよ。
どうして？痛くないの？
平気さ。言っただろ。全然痛くないよ。何も感じないんだ。 ほら、僕は笑っているだろう。
そうね、パパは笑っているもの。きっと平気なのね。
当たり前さ。僕が君に嘘をついたことがあるかい？
いっぱいあるじゃない。この前の私のお誕生日も一緒にお祝いしようって約束したのに、仕事が忙しいって帰ってきてくれなかった。
そうか、そうだったかな。
もう何がそんなにおかしいの？
僕はね、君には僕の笑顔を覚えていてほしいのさ。
私、パパの笑顔大好きだよ。
そうか、ありがとう、マキナ。
パパ？
ごめんよ。実は仕事が忙しくてね。昨日はあんまり寝てないんだ。
パパ、眠いの？
ごめんよ。
仕方がないね。お仕事だものね。
ごめんよ。
私やママのために働いているのだから。いいよ、パパ。おやすみなさい。でも、1時間経ったら起こすからね。いい？パパ。パパ？私は何度も声をかけた。でも、パパは目を覚まさない。パパはぐっすりと眠ってしまった。やがて朝になり、周りが明るくなってもパパは目を覚まさない。私は何度も何度もパパに声をかけた。やがてまた日が落ちて夜になった。それでもやっぱりパパは目を覚まさない。そしてまた朝になって、また夜が来て、そのうちパパの体からはひどい匂いがするようになった。ほら、夏だったから。だからパパの体は腐り始めて、虫がほらいっぱいね。どこから来たのかしらってぐらいいっぱいね。パパ、死んじゃったの？大丈夫だって言ったじゃない。私はまたパパに騙された。平気だなんて言っておいて死んじゃった。ねえ、信じられる？こんな嘘って信じられないよ。私は信じなかった。だから何度も何度もパパに話しかけた。パパには誕生日に子犬を買ってもらうはずだった。パパの仕事が夏休みになったら海に連れて行ってくれるって約束をしていた。夜になったらパパと一緒に花火をするって 約束をした。パパは自分の子供に自転車の乗り方を教えるのが夢だったと、そう言っていた。私はそれをずっと楽しみにしていたのに。だから私はいつまでもパパに話しかけてた。でももう何も話すことがなくなった。話し尽くしてしまった。だから私は黙ってパパの死体を見ていた。もう一生分ぐらい話してしまったのだから、これ以上は喋る必要なんてないと思った。だから最後に一言だけ喋って、それでもう最後にしようって思った。嘘つき。
I don't know if the words Machina just spoke were directed at me or her real father, but either way, they startle me, conscious as I am of hiding things from her. Watching the girl sniffle miserably in my lap, I can feel my own mood sinking. It's not like me to get pulled along by the emotions of others. Have I gotten weaker? The thought's unpleasant, disturbing even. It's like I've bitten into something and felt my teeth rattle loosely in my skull. The animal variety show on the television, having reached the serious second half of the program, begins to broadcast the story of a wolf raising its children.
狼という生き物は動物の中でも特に家族を大切にする生き物です。
Wounded and bloodied, the wolf on the screen fights to protect its children. No matter how many times it's knocked down, the animal keeps standing up again. I see. Weaker isn't the right word, is it? Machina reaches out reflexively, as if requesting help. I take her hand and squeeze it firmly. I'm right here, Machina. When we're like this, I can almost fool myself into believing I've become a good person. It's embarrassing to discover I'm still capable of these sort of feelings, but it also brings me something close to happiness. At the same time, there's an undercurrent of unease, the same old doubts. Is it really alright for me to touch this girl with my soiled hand? But I've made up my mind. If this girl reaches out for help, I'll take her hand. I'll hold on as long as I can. And if I should falter, I'll let go and fall alone. Machina's hand, grasped tightly in mine, feels a little lighter than it did before. I don't really know what to say about the whole flashback thing. Was it right for Machina's dad to actually go there by himself, even though he knew he was going to die? Was it right about what the kidnapper said, that he should have stolen money from a bank or something so that Machina could survive? Was it right for the dad to lie at the end and just show Machina his smile and not try to, you know, scream for help at the last minute? Because, you know, Machina was still tied up, right? Without anyone finding Machina, she was basically going to die too. And I doubt that your smiling face would have given her anything except for just despair at the very end. Maybe it was actually much nicer for Machina to have died there. I don't know. Very hard to know what's actually good and what's actually bad. I haven't spent much time in any halfway normal schools, so I can't really call myself an authority on the subject, but The thing called homework is truly a pain in the ass. Even when exams are approaching, and you know you have to buckle down, you'll find yourself making more progress on cleaning your room than reading your textbooks, reflexively seeking out any possible distraction from reality. And I'm actually not sure if I can finish the Machina route on this episode, because I think there's actually still quite a bit. So it might actually be one more episode. It is pretty late at night right now, and I only have about 45 minutes left until 2 hours. So probably one more episode, I think, but we'll see. Some people handle it better than others, but in general, nobody's at their best when forced to confront something troublesome. That's true. Just facing up to an arduous pile of problems requires some real willpower. At present, Machina is the homework I need to confront. And due to the truly enormous scope of the problem, using youthful energy to force my way to a solution hasn't gone so smoothly. There's been a lot of unproductive agonizing going on. Of course, considering the imminent danger, it's clear that taking immediate action would be best. If I've got the time to procrastinate using my daily running routine as a pretext, it'd probably be better spent charging into the Arisu home with a dagger in my hand and at least trying to do my duty. However, we're dealing with a conglomerate strongly tied to the nation itself. No matter how fiercely a single mutt barks and snarls outside the gate, they're not exactly going to shake in their shoes. And even if, by some chance, the world were to tilt in an unexpected direction, how could we hope to compensate society for the resulting damage? No matter how hard I think, the answers don't come. It's easy enough to boast that you'll stick to your guns no matter who tries to push you around, but the simple fact is that fighting the power almost never ends badly for the power in question. Hell, if one individual's stubborn resistance were enough to frustrate those entrusted with authority, the way of the world would change fundamentally, and not necessarily for the better. In the end, I'm not much more than a country's pet dog, and the Arisu bear exceptional influence with my master. I can't even bare my fangs against them. And here's what it comes down to. I want to keep Machina safe even if it costs me my life. I don't give a damn about the national interest. On a very simple, very personal level, Arisu Machina is my first and absolute priority. I love you, Machina, more than anyone else in the world. I'm affirming my own feelings, that's all. The fact that I love you, that you're the one thing I should prioritize above all else. I was just speaking those thoughts out loud to see if they rang true. In terms of my personal feelings, there's nothing wrong with those words. Machina, you're definitely the most important thing in the world to me. However, as a wise man once said, there's no woman in the world more troublesome than your mother. It's a little hard to say this to our own daughter, but I don't think it's possible to phrase this both gently and accurately. I'm going to be frank here. Your mom's a sociopathic bitch. And despite this long convoluted attempt at an excuse, when you get right down to it, I'm afraid of her. There's lots of people like that, Machina. They just grew in their bodies but never really become an adult in their minds. Sure, they can make money, sure they can do their jobs pretty well, but when it comes to maturity, it's not about what you're doing, really. It's more about mental strength than anything. At least that's what I think. I am in psychology even though I am a dropout, but I definitely think mental strength is one of those things where if we were to quantify like maturity, like mental strength is definitely one of them. Grit. There's lots of things that I guess adults that are around me just don't have. To be honest, I don't have the strength to confront your family head on. Given that, there are only two possibilities. We can run and hide, or we can try to hold out and find a way to endure their one-sided abuse. To be honest, I can't bring myself to make that call. What do you want me to do? No. Please, tell me what I should do, Machina.
私に聞かれても、私個人の都合でパパを振り回す結果になるのは目に見えているのに、何も言えないのよ。
I see. Yeah, guess that makes sense. Alright, in that case, let's get a third opinion. We can pretend like they're the ones who pushed us into this. Then do whatever we want while blaming it on them. How's that sound?
おお、極めて日本人的な責任転嫁なのよさ。さすがだよ。それでいこう。パパ超頭いいよ。
No matter how skilled a soldier you may be, when you're unsure of the next move, don't try to muddle through it alone. Consult your superior officer. Battles are won and lost on the big picture level of strategy. No one man on the ground can see the whole board. Blundering ahead blindly, guided only by emotions or values, is the kind of criminal stupidity that invites disaster. When I was very young, the person who looked down on the board from above was always my sister. If I did as she told me, I could at least avoid the worst case scenario no matter what the situation. After my sister's death, the next person to watch the big picture for me was my master. But Asako's advice tended to be a little heavy on the brute force approach, sometimes to the point of excess. JB was an indispensable counterweight, leaning heavily in the opposite direction. Asako loved the high-risk, high-return play. JB strongly favored low-risk, low-return. Raised under their mutual guidance, I naturally began to weigh their opinions against each other, searching for the answer that felt correct for me. But today, Asako is no longer around to offer me one of those staggeringly drastic plans that always left me wondering if she'd even thought about the consequences. Even if I could consult with JB about this, she'd without a doubt recommend looking for a way to maintain the status quo. But that's nothing more than the passive opinion of a woman focused on the way of the winds are blowing. Should we give in or resist? To break this sort of deadlock, you really do need someone who can provide a big picture perspective.
で、なぜ私のところへ来るのかしら?
Isn't it obvious? There aren't many people in the school even familiar with the circumstances. And despite the whole neutral observer act, you're constantly giving us precise and timely advice.
だからって、私にどうしろというの?
I don't expect you to do anything. Hell, look at it as standing in for a coin flip. Just casually call out heads or tails if you want. You do understand our situation, right?
それでも結果はつきまとうわ。私が気楽に決めた結果で、あなたたちがどうなっても責任は取れないし、後悔もしたくはない。他を当たってちょうだい。そんな冷たいことを言うなよ。他には相談できないの知ってるでしょ？だからって、私だって困るのよ。そんなこと。
I understand we're asking a lot, but if I had to make an analogy, faced with the approach of an overwhelmingly powerful American army, do you continue fighting down to the last soldier, or accept being branded a coward, swallow your tears and return to help lay the cornerstones of your nation's long, painful rebirth? Even if you consult the non-com who's taken over your platoon after the CO bit the dust, he'll just snarl, "The hell do I know? Make up your own damn mind," in response. If anything, you're better off making a field appointment in the absence of a true CO. Shout, CPL? I don't know what CPL is. CPL Kazami, you're the leader of this platoon. What is CPL? I'm not very familiar with military terms. Then give him a temporary promotion to second lieutenant. Co-lieutenant? No, that can't be it. Your man can't help but stiffen his spine. However, even knowing full well that I'm being unreasonable, I want to ask you once more. What should I do, Commander Sakaki?
中隊長って。注意殿、お言葉を。あなたがたった一言、私たちに死ねと言ってくだされば、私たちは何年でもこの島に立てこもり、一兵でも多くの敵をほふりましょう。あのね、これは軍隊ごっこじゃないのよ。そんな大事なことを私の意見でどうにかしようというのがそもそもの間違いだわ。あなたたち、私を神様か何かと勘違いしていない？
So you say, but if you remove but a single character from the name Sakaki, You're left with the kanji for God.
おお、うまいこと言うな。
Sakaki, my friend. No, my God. Tell us what we should do. I beseech you.
ほら、お賽銭あげるのよさ。ぜひご神託を。ゴッドゴッド。私に小銭を投げつけるのはやめなさい。
There are no atheists in foxholes, as they say. The opponent's far, far more powerful than us. That reality's clearer than the sight of the bombers soaring overhead on their way to devastate the mainland. How meaningful would it be to barricade ourselves away in this island? Is dying and becoming a patriotic spirit really the only righteous choice? But survival gained by turning tail and fleeing is a shameful thing. Anyone with a shred of compassion for those left behind couldn't accept such a selfish path. The only easy way to resolve this is by sending Makina home to her family immediately. But what awaits her there is death, in spirit if not in body. But if I were to flee with Makina in tow, those left behind in the school might very well suffer the consequences as well. In the worst case scenario, there's no guarantee they won't be taken as hostages. I understand that I'm being tested here, but it seems I'm a hopeless loser who can't make his own decisions when push comes to shove. Please help me, Sakaki.
よしこ。
だからユミコを勝手にヨシコにするなと何度も言っているでしょう。
Sorry about that. Kids these days feel the need to invent slang for everything they see. Try to let it slide.
だいたい答えはもう決まっているんでしょ。だったら好きにしたらいいじゃない。あなたたちは結局後始末を私に押し付けたいだけなのよ。違う？
You're not wrong. That's exactly how it is. I know we're being incredibly selfish. This might end up causing serious problems for you and the others, but even so, I want to protect Makina.
私の正直な意見を言っても構わない？
Go ahead.
この学園ではある程度の安全が保証されているとはいえ、イリスさんが標的になっている以上、イリスさん本人はもちろんのこと、他の学園生においても保護はしきれないというのが現状よ。同じ学び屋で席を並べた友を放り出すのは私としても忍びないところではあるけれども。
I'm guessing that at this point, there was... I don't think there was a point in time where we actually told Makina that she was a target. I'm guessing there was like a sex scene that we did and then we told her right after. This is why I said the pillow talk shouldn't have been cut out. And they should just give us like a black screen after the sex scene. And then a pillow talk. Because it's kind of awkward knowing that Makina knows about the current situation even though we never told her, right? So I assume they remove the scene. I guess this is what people said. People said there are some missing scenes or stuff on the censored version. I can understand that to a degree for people who didn't play the original and would be pretty confused about what's going on.
学園経営者の娘としては苦渋の決断をせざるを得ない。イリス・マキナさん、あなたを当学園から除籍します。
除籍。
In other words,
休学でも退学でもなく除籍。つまり書類上はイリス・マキナはこの学園にはいなかったということになるわ。
I see. Erasing every document with the name Irisu Makina on it is probably only prudent under the circumstances, which would mean me as well.
ええ、あなたもよ。風見雄二なんて学生、うちにはいなかった。それでいいのでしょ？学園長や他の子たちには私から説明しておくわ。
ユミちゃん。
Sorry for the hassle.
いいのよ。逆に言えば、それぐらいしかしてあげられないのが私なのだから。
Alright, Makina. Since that's decided, wanna run away with me?
逃げよう。地の果てまでも。
Sakaki's right, of course. Whatever I might have said, the truth is I'd already made up my mind. A snap of the Irisu's fingers is enough to leave people dead. They can't be persuaded or negotiated with. Staying here would leave me grinding my teeth impotently. If I curl into a ball and wait for the hurricane to pass, I'll ultimately be forced to kill Makina with my own hands. Given a choice between killing her and running away, I'd naturally choose the latter. But disappearing into the night without a word would be agonizing. Knowing that those we are leaving behind might well face unjust suffering, I simply couldn't bring myself to do what had to be done. And now, Sakaki's agreed to assume the role of protecting this school from the consequences of our actions. Sakaki, thank you. Now I can run away with a clean conscience.
ふみちゃん、私からもありがとう。
That's really unfair of Yuji and Makina. I feel sorry for Yumiko.
私は厄介者を追い出しただけよ。お礼を言われるようなことは何もしていないわ。まあ、すべての方がついたら、またこの学園へ戻っていらっしゃい。除籍とはいえ、再入学はいつでも歓迎するから。
Apparently overcome with emotion at Sakaki's unexpectedly warm words, Makina spreads out her arms like a bird flapping its wings. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction this provides, she proceeds to barrel forward into Sakaki's bosom. Closing to a grappling range with an exemplary slight dash before her target can even begin to evade, Makina twines her legs tightly around Sakaki's knees, cutting off any possibility of retreat.
ありがとう、ふみちゃん。私、きっとここに帰ってくるから。
わかったから、話して。
それまで元気でね。
Makina forces her lips against those of her immobilized prey, and the girl's not playing around either. From this passionate kiss, accompanied by the faint clacking of teeth against teeth, I sense something like the essence of female friendship. A profoundly moving spectacle brings a tear to my eye. After a while, Sakaki seems to grow somewhat agitated, releasing her grasp on Makina to thump on the girl's back like a martial artist signaling surrender. Yes, yes. Moan some more into the mic, Yumiko. But the situation seems to be developing further. Sakaki's slapping against Makina's back becomes progressively weaker, and the muffled grunts leaking out of the corner of her mouth grow sweet in tone. Looks like you've stepped up your game once again, Makina. Taking in this radiant scene of womanly affection, and noting with approval the maturation of my favorite pupil, I fold my arms in front of my chest and nod deeply in satisfaction. Perhaps running out of breath at last, Makina releases Sakaki from her grasp, then sucks down a great lungful of air.
ふみちゃん、大好きだよ。
何をするのよ。なんでキスしたの。
なんでって俺
なんで。
Wait, she didn't say that.
サービスよ。
She just said Nande, what the hell? Wow, they put a lot of words there. English translation, what are you doing?
もうそんなお礼とかサービスとかいいから、とっととこの学園から出て行ってちょうだい。
Hey, Sakaki. I hadn't managed to say goodbye yet.
追い出されちゃったのよさ。やつはなんであんな怒ってんの？
Don't ask me. Perhaps the effectiveness of your technique flustered her.
礼がしたかっただけなのに失敗しちゃったかな。
Who knows? She made a good show of being angry, but for all we know, she's gone off to pleasure herself to the memory.
あなたたち、いい加減にしなさい。
Not good! Run, Makina! As a blunt projectile shatters noisily against the floor behind us, Makina and I flee at a sprint. You know, Makina, we have to say goodbye to the school now. Are you really alright with that?
きっとこうするのが一番いいんだよ。ほら、猫ってさ、死ぬ時が迫ると帰 い主の前からいなくなるって言うじゃない。私もそんな感じなのよさ。このままスッとみんなの前からいなくなって、うるさい子だったなーって、バカな子だったなーって、ちゃんと元気にしてるのかなーって、そんな風に思われたままいなくなりたいよ。
It's fine. You won't die. I won't let you. There's nothing to worry about.
ありがとう、パパ。
Now that we've decided to move, there's no reason to drag our feet. Sometimes a single minute's vacillation can prove fatal. Therefore, we're going to leave this place immediately. I'll give you 30 minutes. Attend to your affairs and gather your belongings within that time. Then regroup here. Understood?
30分？
Better than 40 seconds, right? Get a move on. The clock's already ticking.
わかった。
After watching the girl patter off upstairs, I begin my own preparations for departure. That said, my personal luggage is pretty damn minimal. All I've got is a single oversized backpack I lugged here from Yamanashi. And even that's only halfway unpacked. I won't be taking any of the additional household goods I purchased after my arrival at the school. Easy enough to buy new ones if they become necessary. The only things I really need for daily life in the short term are my tableware and portable stove. Cramming these into my backpack takes all of 5 minutes. I paused briefly to debate over what I should do with some half-read books Akaki lent me, but since I probably won't have many chances to come return them, it'd be best to leave them there. If I really feel the need to finish reading one of them, I can just purchase my own copy. Well then, since I finished packing nice and early, I have some time to think about what comes next. When you're on the run, a city is the ideal choice. The more densely populated, the better. Human beings have a natural tendency to hide out in some quiet little rural town in the middle of nowhere, but that's a serious mistake. The only people who think the country is full of kind-hearted folk living tranquil lives are city dwellers who've never been there. In reality, your typical village is a den of insular, malicious, and narrow-minded people, full of petty pride and obsessed with appearances. The countryside's a hell of a lot scarier than any city. And naturally, it's all the more cold and hostile a place where a complete stranger the locals bear no social obligations or debts of gratitude to. When I was a kid, my mother and I learned that lesson the hard way. Anyway, if we're going to try and hide out somewhere, ideally it should be a place neither Makina and I have even visited before. Few people being chased by their enemies take refuge in a place they're totally unfamiliar with. Pursuers naturally start by searching areas where the fugitive would have a home field advantage. If Mom and I had known that back in the day, our lives might have turned out slightly better than they did. The thought does inspire some bitterness. But there's not exactly anything to be done about that now. I can only shake my head firmly and put it out of my mind. So if we're running somewhere, I guess the city would be best. When you're hiding a tree, do it in the forest. It's always dark at the foot of the lighthouse. Yeah, there's a reason those proverbs have been passed down all this time. People pour in and out constantly. The residents are apathetic enough not to glance over at the next toilet stall. That's the city for you. I agree. People actually mind their own business in the city. That's both a pro and a con. The pro is that, yeah, you're never gonna be in any sort of trouble unless someone picks a fight with you. The con is that even if you are in trouble, no one is going to care, so you're still on your own. However, massive crowds do have their downside. Although it'll be harder to find us, it also becomes more difficult for us to notice the movements of our enemies. It wouldn't be so bad if we just had the competing factions within the Irisu to worry about, but I doubt we're going to get off that easy. My employer, Ichigaya, isn't going to sit back and let me leave, and if Akasaka moves, there's a possibility our friends in the NSA and CSS may get involved as well. However, like the old joke goes, if you're in town on the weekend and notice a Caucasian in golf clothes, leather shoes, and a pair of sunglasses, assume they're CIA? What the fuck? That's an old joke in Japan? What the fuck? In other words, there are certainly ways to recognize those sort of people. A thoroughly trained agent in their element is obvious at a glance. You can tell a CIA man when he's standing, a CSS man when he's sitting, and an NSA man when he's walking. Considering the possibility of their involvement, it'd probably be best to avoid UP-invested areas of the city where business suits are common, in favor of neighborhoods overflowing with flashy young people. A place where punk kids loiter around at all hours would be ideal. Anybody walking in a straight line in that sort of crowd would stand out like a sore thumb. Well then, guess it's about time. I glanced back at the clock. It's about 25 minutes have passed since Makina and I split up. Having the rucksack containing everything I own onto my back, I leave my room and shut the door behind me.
あれユージ、あんた何その荷物？どっか行くの？
Yeah, I think you might have a rough idea of the circumstances already, but Makina's in some real danger right now. The two of us are going to be hiding out for a while.
へえ、そうなんだ。どっか行き先のあてでもあるの？
No, nothing like that. Even if we did, it wouldn't be a good idea to use it.
なんか大変そうね。私に手伝えることってなんかある？
Well, let's see. If you have any cash on hand, a little farewell donation would be helpful.
急に言われてもな。
Although Michiru grimaces a little, she nonetheless retrieves her wallet from her pouch and takes a look inside.
ごめん、2000円しかない。
Hey, it's the thought that counts, Michiru. That's plenty. Thanks. I'll make careful use of it. By the way, Michiru,
何よ。
you're not really acting all that surprised, are you?
まあね。由美子からそれとなく事情は説明されたし、私たちにはどうすることもできないし、むしろ下手に関わろうとしない方があんたたちの助けになるって本当なの？
Yeah, exactly right. There's nothing you can do, and if you do stuck your head in any way, you might well end up becoming collateral damage. However, as long as you're in this school, it seems Akaki is going to keep you safe. You can just forget about us and go on living normally.
全部型がついたら戻ってくるんでしょ？
I can't promise that, but I'll definitely try.
別にあんたなんてどうなってもいいけど、マキナだけはちゃんと守りなさいよね。私、こう見えてもあの子のこと結構気に入ってんだから。
I mean, the fact that Makina abuses you a lot and you don't really get angry at her too much, Michiru. I guess you're actually right. That is actually the truth. After what I saw in the common route, seeing you getting abused so much by Makina, actually putting Makina at the very bottom of the barrel, yeah, I do think that you are speaking the truth right now. Yeah, I'll promise you that. No matter what happens, I'll protect Makina above all else. You can trust me on this one.
嘘よ。
What?
あんたのことはどうでもいいって言ったの。嘘。あんたもちゃんと帰ってくんのよ。
Don't think I'm particularly hard of hearing, but I didn't quite catch that. Mind repeating yourself one more time?
もううっさいわね。さっきの2000円あげたんじゃなくて貸したんだからね。勘違いすんじゃないわよ。ちゃんと返しに来なさいよね。わかったの？わかったら返事しなさい。
Look, you don't have to scream. I can hear you fine. I get it. I mean, do you just want the 2,000 yen back right now or what?
返すんじゃないわよ。何喧嘩してんのよさ。
Oh, hey there, Makina. Ready to leave?
ザリガニも中庭の池に返してきたし、荷物も持ったよ。
Good job being responsible, Makina. I have a niece and sometimes my brother would give her like a pet fish or something and she would never feed the pet. Yeah, I guess she's still very young though, about 6 years old or 7 years old. Good job, Makina.
ってあんたたちもう行っちゃうの？っていうかマキナ、あんた荷物ってそんだけ？ そのカバンの中何が入ってるのよ。
おやつとお財布と、あとは替えのパンツ。
パンツって、そんだけ？
足りないものがあれば買えばいいし、余計なものを持っても邪魔なだけなのよ。
A wise attitude.
マキちゃんは入院慣れしてるから荷物が少ないのにも慣れてるもんね。あ、サチ。マキちゃん、これさっき預かったリンゴの苗だけど、やっぱり私は受け取れないよ。これはマキちゃんが持って行って。
でも
マキちゃんがいつか安住の地を見つけたらそこに植えるといいよ。実がなる頃にはきっと全部片付いてるからね。
I see. One of those seedling of hope deals.
はい、いつかきっとみんなで笑いながらリンゴを食べられたらいいなってそう思うんです。
Machina, why don't you take it?
わかった。じゃあいつかきっとみんなでリンゴ食べようね。
楽しみにしてるね。ねえ、ちょっと本当に行っちゃうの？今すぐ？
Not to worry. We'll meet again.
はい、お二人の武運長久をお祈りしています。
Amane?
ちょいとお待ちよ、お前さんたち。マキナ、あんたこれ持っていきなさいな。ホームベーカリー。
Isn't that big though?
でもこれいいの？
これさえあればいつでもパンが焼けるでしょ。
How big is that usually? I mean, I don't know. This thing's going to be a bit of a burden. See, even Yuji's saying that shit.
うるさいわね。あんた男の子なんだからこれぐらいの荷物増えたって平気でしょ。あんたが背負っていけばいいじゃないのよ。
Well, yeah, I guess you're right.
あとこれあり合わせだけどお弁当詰めたからお昼になったら食べなさいね。マキナの好きなタケノコとレンコンとサヤエンドウの煮たのも入ってるから。
ありがとうなのよ。
あとあんた部屋に携帯電話忘れてたわよ。これがなかったら電話できないじゃない。
それはわざと置いてきたのよさ。
え？なんで？
We're not going on a vacation, you know. It'd be like carrying around a convenient little homing device everywhere we go.
そっか。あまねさんは心配性ですね。だってそういうさっちゃんは心配じゃないの？はい、私はマキちゃんも風見さんもちゃんと無事に帰ってくるって信じていますから。信じてるってだけで確証なんかないんでしょ？確かにそうです。でも私が信じているということをお二人に伝えました。それで十分ではないですか？
It is.
どういうことよ？例えばお二人が辛い状況にあって諦めてしまいそうになった時、信じて待っている人がいると思い出すことができれば、それが立ち上がる力になるかもしれません。信じるだけというのはいかにも無責任なように思えますが、信じるってそういう力があると私は思います。
I also agree with that, Sachi.
さち。
You're strong, Sachi.
分かった。だったら私も信じて待ってるから。私だって信じてあげてもいいのよ。っていうか信じるわよ。はい？どうにも最近のみちる様は語尾が不明瞭でいけませんね。もっと大きな声で元気よくおっしゃっていただけますか？
もうわかったわよ。
大きな声で言えばいいんでしょ。信じるわよ。これでいい。
チルチルがちゃんとツンデレしてる。長生きはするものなのよさ。
そうそう、人間長生きはするものだよ、マキちゃん。ですからマキちゃんも風見さんも必ず帰ってくると約束してください。
But that's...
嘘でもいいですからお願いします。そしてその言葉を信じて待っている者がここにいるとご記憶に留めていただきたく思います。
Understood. We'll be back. Machina and I both.
お待ちしております。約束だからね。絶対帰ってくるのよ。いい？
Yeah, it's a promise.
マキナ、あんたもちゃんと戻ってくるのよ。いい？
ありがとうチルチル。ありがとうみんな。
Let's go, Machina. With a forceful nod, Machina snaps her slipper-clad heels smartly together and squeezes her hands into fists. Standing at attention, she turns her gaze around the room, taking in the faces of her friends one by one.
イリスマキナ、行ってまいります。どうか皆様、お達者で。
Lowering her head about 10 degrees, the girl offers a salute worthy of a professional, then turns around and walks off without another word. There's a possibility we'll never see any of them again. Are we really alright with this quick a farewell?
大丈夫なのよさ。きっとまた必ず会えるって私も信じてるし。また戻ってこれるんでしょ。
Yeah, that's right. Guaranteed.
だったら何も問題ないのよさ。ただユミちゃんにお別れを言えなかったのは残念だけどね。
Well, she's a bit of a special case, I suppose.
どういうこと？
Look up at the roof of the school. After briefly squinting up at the distant building, Machina retrieves her scope from her bag, then presses the rubber cup to her eye.
ユミちゃんだ。こっち見てる。あの子、あんなとこで何してんのよさ。
Must be our way of sending us off. I see. So she went with this approach, huh? I was expecting something of the sort. Although I picture her leaning against a wall at the end of the platform, watching in silence as our train rolled away.
なんであんな無駄に格好をつけてるの？
Don't say that. Pulls it off pretty well, doesn't she? Why don't you hit her with a little swagger of your own?
まあそうな。あばよ、親友。
Wait, did you two really get along that well?
そう言うなよ。
Well, our exit scene was a bit on the haphazard side. With this, Machina and I have taken our leave of Mahama Academy. We're not running away in defeat, but rather falling back to fight another day. Still, when I think rationally about the odds of us ever returning to this place, it's hard to help feeling mourned and a little glum as well. But when I glance down at Machina, expecting to find some form of sorrow distorting her face after our abrupt departure, I'm somewhat surprised to find she doesn't look particularly discouraged, let alone teary-eyed. If anything, her bright and optimistic expression reminds me of a young girl heading out to the zoo hand in hand with her father. That attitude's clearly only possible because of Machina's genuine trust in me, so I don't particularly feel the need to remind her this isn't a game. There's no need to share my burden with her. From this point on, things get a little murky. I've roughly decided that we'll be concealing ourselves within the city, but the specific area and details of how we'll be getting there are still up in the air. In any case, we've only just taken the first step on our somewhat contradictory attempt at bold and determined retreat. It's definitely nice that we were able to rush out of Mihama without leaving any ill will regrets in our wake. But now we have to face the real problems. The first hurdle we need to clear is arranging a method of transportation. It wouldn't be that problematic if I was alone, but with Makina tagging along, it's the ancient wolf with cup dilemma. The range you can reasonably expect to cover on foot is severely limited. I did consider asking Amani to loan us a vehicle, but if at all possible, I don't want to risk dragging her into this. Material aiding and abetting? Yeah, abetting? Would be more than enough to land her deep in hot water. In the first place, hurrying to a crowded place where we can blend in by zipping along, all by ourselves in a conspicuous motorcycle, would be the definition of cart before the horse. And so since we have nothing whatsoever in the way of support, it's painfully clear that avoiding the watchful gaze of the N system and street cameras will be a major challenge. N system? What's that? Using public transportation such as buses or trains would be the ideal countermeasure, since the other passengers will become human shields and camouflage. Which leaves us with the thorny problem of slipping past the surveillance camped out around a train station. But the black motorcycle from the other day is nowhere to be found, and in its place. Hey Makina, sorry, but can you head up to the platform first and wait for me? Is it JB? Don't worry, I'll be there soon. But if I don't show up within 30 minutes, head for the place written on this piece of paper. You can handle that, right? Don't make that face. I don't want to make you act on your own right off the bat either, but even I have a few obligations I can't just walk away from. Here, I'll give you the money I scammed off Michiru earlier. Get yourself a box lunch while you wait or something. Ice cream comes after the meal. I'll buy it for you later, so just be patient. Yeah. Right where the surveillance operative's black motorcycle was parked the other day, there's an exceptionally eye-catching bright yellow sports car. There's only one person who'd be parking a gaudy thing like that around here. Not as if you're going to stop talking if I say no, right? Beginning the conversation with a heavy sigh and the words, "I knew it'd come to this," JB cricks her neck back and forth in a familiar gesture of exasperation. Well, I'd more or less assumed she'd see through me, and I'd been prepared for the possibility she'd get in touch somehow once we took action, but have to admit, I didn't expect her to clear the area for a face-to-face meeting like this. Not really. And even if I did, I couldn't exactly tell you about it, as you're well aware, JB. I like to think I understand you almost as well as you understand me. You can't betray Chigaya, can you? I know that you're incapable of sacrificing the large for the small. You believe in prioritizing the big picture, and you've lived by that principle all this time. If you chose to betray the organization for our sake here and now, all those small things you sacrificed up to this point would have died in vain. You can't possibly do that. Even if you could, I wouldn't ask you to. And what happens then? You planning to re-educate me? Or maybe arrange a summary execution? Well, I'm just an unusually high-priced piece of disposable equipment, so I suppose that'd be fitting enough. But what happens to Makina? If we hand her over to her family, she'll be killed. Am I wrong? If I'm going to be put down in the end anyway, I'll use the rest of my life for Makina's sake. Yeah, that's another thing I don't understand. Why go that far? We're talking about Makina here, you know? A perfectly commonplace, slightly demoted girl with some awkward family circumstances. What meaning is there in killing one insignificant woman like that? Why would the nation itself fixate on her like this? Sorry, you don't have to answer that. I've already openly declared my intention of becoming a traitor. Just by coming to meet me like this, JB's already placed herself in a significantly unfavorable position. And especially given that she's my direct superior and case officer. If the cards fall badly, it's entirely plausible to imagine her being taken into custody herself. I thought leaving quietly would be an act of courtesy toward you. That way, you could just be the dumb blonde who didn't see any of this coming. Tell me something, JB. If you knew what I was going to do, then why are you here?
そうね。ちゃんとお互いに顔を見て話し合えば、あなたを説得できる。そんな風に甘く考えていたのかもしれないわね。
So you've given up on trying to persuade me.
おっぱい触らせてあげるって言ったら諦める？
Let me think that one over.
考えるんだ。でも考えるだけよね。結局結論は変わらない。初子貫徹ってわけじゃないけど、一度こうだと決めたら絶対にぶれない。諦めない。そういう強情なところは師匠譲りかしらね。
I'd say I got it from my big sister, actually. Kazuki always said to live every day picturing myself 10 years in the future. And if I were to abandon the girl now, even in 10 years, I'd probably be a miserable piece of trash, unable to even raise my head in front of Makina's grave. I won't take that path.
その結果、自分が命を落とすことになっても
Dying for the woman you fell in love with strikes me as a pretty damn good way to go.
それは残された女の気持ちを考えない男の身勝手よ。
That's very true. My master taught me you're not a man until you find something that matters more to you than your own life.
朝子を盾にすれば、私が何でも納得すると思ったら大間違いよ。
Oh yeah? Well, if you think thrusting your breasts out is going to make me listen, you're even more mistaken.
あら、じゃあいらないの？おっぱい。
I didn't say that.
ひどい会話ね。自分がここへ何しに来たのか忘れそうだわ。
Go ahead. Forget it entirely. Then turn around and go home.
冷たいのね。
Sorry.
謝らないでよ。あなたを責めるために来たわけじゃないわ。
Well, you don't appear to be armed, so I suppose you won't be trying to convince me at gunpoint either. In which case, I think we're done here.
どうせ私が何を言ったって無駄でしょ。朝子もユージもいつだってそうだった。それでももう一度だけ警告するわ。やめておきなさい。今逃げればあなたもマキナも必ず死ぬ。このまま逃げ回っていればいつかはイリスケも諦めると思っているのならそれは間違いよ。
What do you mean?
これは私が独自に調べた情報だし、あまり確実とは言えないソースからの情報なのだけれど、先日の夜、イリス・マキナからイリス・キヨカに電話があったそうよ。
That's right. The day the bakery was set on fire. After returning to the dorm in tears that night, Makina definitely said she was going to call her mother, although I never heard the details.
その時の電話で、マキナは、もうこれ以上私に関わらないでほしい。これ以上の干渉が続くようであれば、過去の汚職の事実を暴露すると。母親を相手に逆に脅しをかけたらしいわ。
I see. That would explain this abrupt assassination plan, wouldn't it?
そういうこと。
They pushed Irisu Masataka into an early grave to protect themselves, and now they're going to do the same to his daughter.
イリス・マキナの記憶力はあなたも知っているでしょ。彼女は幼い頃、父親の書斎で偶然に見かけた汚職関連の資料の内容を未だに覚えているみたいね。電話口で母親に向かって当時の資料をそらんじて聞かせたらしいわ。具体的な数字や取引相手の企業の名前が判明してしまえば、あとは少し調べるだけでもボロボロと不正が発覚してしまう。
True.
マキナが生きている限り安心はできない。いつどこから情報が漏れるともしれない。それを恐れたイリスケは マキナの暗殺に踏み切ったというわけよ。
But how did that job end up coming to me? Ichigaya, Akasaka, and even Kasumigaseki approved this assassination. I don't understand why.
それだけイリス一族の力が国政にも深く根付いているということよ。下手に逆らったところで誰も得をしない。
Friendship's one thing, but your wallet's another, huh? Makes me want to vomit. In the first place, since you know our secrets, we can't let you live? Are these people capitalists or gangsters? I mean, I'm not completely naive about the workings of the world. If you ask me to name a few righteous, ethically sound organizations, all I could do is stand there scratching my head like an idiot. I understand how things are. But an organization that kills children to prop itself up? That's one thing I don't even want to understand. An organization that needs to go that far to keep itself standing should just collapse.
あなた一人でイリス家を滅ぼすというの？無理よ。このままではあなたも始末の対象になる。
I knew that from the start. If you can't live without taking human lives, then take them. Those are just the rules of the game. Nothing to trouble your conscience over. But if you're coming to take someone's life, go in prepared to lose your own instead. I won't hesitate to kill.
そんなことあなたにできるの？
Wrong question. It's the only thing I'm capable of. There's nothing else I can do to help her. Maybe that makes me a bad guy, but even so, I've made my decision. For Makina's sake, I'll sink as low as I have to. However many you send, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all. I'll keep on killing for years on end if need be. Even if they send you, JB.
嫌な目ね。ドロドロに濁ってどんどん色が抜けていく。出会ったばかりの頃、病院のベッドの上で見たあの頃のあなたの目だわ。
Well, maybe this is just my true nature. Don't resist orders from above. Don't doubt. Don't think. Just obey. Keep what you really think buried safely away. Maintain the facade and you'll trudge through life without problems. But what's the point of an existence like that? After Asako died, I lost my purpose. But now I found Makina, and my life has meaning again. I won't let anyone take that away.
あなたにとってあの子はそれだけの価値があると？
What can I say? Seems like caring about someone can really sneak up on you little by little. From the moment they're born, human beings are given something to protect. Namely, their own existence. The most precious thing we have, the possession we should treasure above all else, is our life. But through the passage of time, our priorities grow more complicated. Often, we find something that matters even more than ourselves. For example, our families. For example, our motherland. And while a few people probably grow up still treasuring their own lives above all else, even they fight to protect the things they need to protect themselves. As human beings live, they naturally find more things to protect. And when they find something more precious than their own lives, something they could throw away everything else to protect, people undergo a change. Even if it leaves them broken or miserable or poor, even at the cost of their dignity and pride, even to the point of foolishness, they struggle for the sake of that something. Keeping it safe becomes their only joy, the only way they can keep themselves whole. And so they toss aside anything that gets in their way, take any measures necessary, and protect it with everything they have. I'm afraid of change, but I want to change. That contradiction is part of me, but I won't let it paralyze me. I'll walk forward, step by painful step. JB, you understand, right? I don't value my life particularly highly. I'm alright with dying whenever and wherever. Hell, it could have happened a dozen times by now on the job. But, if I'm going to croak one way or the other, I want a death that has some meaning. I want a reason to look back and say I lived for something. I played that role for Asako, and now Makina's taking it on for me. People like us can't live any other way, and I think it's probably the only way we can die too.
バカよ。あなたも、朝子も。
You don't have to tell me that. I'm well aware. I was born stupid and a coward to boot. Nothing to be done about it now. As the conversation comes to a pause, I glance down at the watch on my left wrist. It's time. I'm leaving now. Better get back to work yourself, JB.
待って、ユージ。
What now?
あなた、その格好のまま逃げる気？
With those words, JB retrieves her wallet from her breast pocket, takes out a few 10,000 yen bills from inside.
服を買いなさい。制服のまま人を殺さないで。それと、女性に対するマナーの本でも買いなさい。
Sorry, and thank you, Julia.
こんな時ばっかりジュリアって呼ばないで。私のことなんて便利な女としか思ってないくせに。ムカつくのよ、あなた。勝手にどこへでも行けばいいじゃない。もう知らないんだから。知らないんだから。バカ。
I understand. My bad. Made her cry, huh? Come to think of it, it seems like I'm always bringing JB to tears. What with all the orders I've ignored. Not to mention the insubordination and rule breaking. But this time, they must taste much more bitter than ever before. After Asako died and I began to stubbornly refuse any order to kill, it was JB who supported and protected me. I repaid her with outright betrayal.
終わった？
Damn you, Machina. But yeah, I'm gonna end the episode right here. We are definitely reaching the finale of Machina's route. Next episode, though, for sure, that's gonna be the end.
セーブしますか？
But yeah, as you can see, even though this is Machina's route, yeah, a lot of it is Machina, but for the most part, it's also about Yuji, you know? Usually when it's like a route about a specific girl in these visual novels, it's mostly the relationship, what happens with Machina and, or, you know, like the girl and the main character, right? But this is more so Yuji referencing something to his past. This is like Yuji finding someone, like how his master found someone in Yuji, right? And that's just how the progression is gonna go. Like, in all these routes, it's gonna be Yuji finding something in someone else and comparing it to his past, while not necessarily always comparing it to what his master has done for him. But yeah, I have talked so much this, you know, like I've read so much this whole day, and I am actually very thirsty. So without further ado, I am going to end the episode right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next episode is gonna be the finale for Machina's route. I don't even know if I'm gonna play this next week. I might play this tomorrow, we'll see. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.